Hello, and welcome back to NeuroView. In this episode, we're continuing our dive into the neuron. In the last video we explored the axon of a neuron, exploring the three main parts that are involved in propagating nerve impulses, starting from the axon hillock, through the axon proper, to the axon terminal, where the axon contacts another cell, making a synapse. In this video, we'll take a closer look at the synapse. Additionally, we'll explore how proteins that are found in the axon get there in the first place. Finally, we'll look at the structure that neurons use to receive signals, called dendrites. As mentioned in the last video, the point at which the axon terminal connects with another cell is known as the synapse. The synapse has two sides, a presynaptic side and a postsynaptic side. Information generally flows from pre to post, with an axon terminal usually on the presynaptic side, and a dendrite or soma of another neuron on the postsynaptic side. The gap between the two sides is called the synaptic cleft. The transfer of information across the synapse from one neuron to another is called synaptic transmission. Traveling down the axon, information is usually encoded as an electrical signal. At the axon terminal, however, it is converted to a chemical signal for crossing the synaptic cleft. Once this chemical signal reaches its target, it is then converted again to an electrical signal. The chemical signals that get information across the synapse are called neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are stored and released from tiny bubbles in the axon terminal, known as synaptic vesicles. Some of these neurotransmitters can be proteins. However, as was discussed in the last video, the axon has no ribosomes on which to make proteins. This means proteins needed in the axon terminal must be made in the soma and shipped down the axon. This movement of material down the axon is called axoplasmic transport. The mechanism of axoplasmic transport can be broken down into a few steps. Material destined for the axon terminal is enclosed in a vesicle. This material must then walk down the microtubule scaffolding of the axon. The structure that does the walking is a protein called kinasen. ATP, which is the energy currency of the cell, is needed to power kinasen's walk down the axon. Kinasen only moves material from the soma to the axon terminal, which is termed the anterograde direction. In addition to anterograde transport, there exists a reverse process called retrograde transport, which involves moving material from the terminal to the soma. Instead of kinasen, the protein dynein provides the legs to move material from the axon terminal to the soma. Now that we know how some neurotransmitters can be delivered to the axon terminal, and that these neurotransmitters flow across the synapse to convey information to another neuron, what part of the postsynaptic neuron receives this signal? Dendrites are the neuron structure designed to receive signals. All the dendrites of a single neuron are together called the dendritic tree, which can be further subdivided into dendritic branches. These dendrites are like antennae for neurons, and are covered with thousands of synapses. The part of the dendrite membrane in a synapse, also known as the postsynaptic membrane, has many specialized receptors, which are protein molecules that detect neurotransmitters in the synapse. Finally, some dendrites have small structures called dendritic spines, which receive some types of synaptic input. They are believed to isolate certain chemical reactions, and strange changes in spines have been shown in the brains of sufferers of cognitive impairments. In contrast to axons, dendrites can have ribosomes, sometimes right under spines, which indicate that synaptic transmission can dictate protein synthesis in some neurons. To review, in this video we looked at the synapse, which is the juncture between two neurons. We discussed how electrical nerve impulses are converted to chemical neurotransmitters to flow from the presynaptic side of the synapse to the postsynaptic side, where they are again converted into an electrical signal. Some of the neurotransmitters reach the axon terminal through axoplasmic transport, which is divided into the anterograde and retrograde directions. Finally, dendrites receive signals at the synapse, and have specialized receptors for detecting neurotransmitters. In the next video, we'll explore some of the methods scientists use to classify neurons. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please be sure to subscribe. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next video.